On this video, I'm going to be diving in all about how to create real confidence and self-esteem. And what I mean by real is the stuff that actually comes from internal. Okay, if you're someone who clicked on this video, but you're hoping for something that's going to teach you like how to magically become someone different or how to, have the body, the hair, the face, the achievements that you desire, then you can click off because this video is not going to help you at all. But if you're someone who wants to understand how to create confidence right now in the very present moment and start to love yourself, then stick around because I'm going to be sharing the exact steps that have helped me do this in my own life and helped all of my clients to start to feel more confident in who they are and what they bring to the world. And I really, truly hope that this will help you do the same. So let's dive in. Hey, welcome back to another video. My name is Kara Michelle and I'm here to help you live your truth. And I'm really passionate about confidence and self-esteem because like most people, it is something that I struggled with for a majority of my life, and it's something that I felt like I had to achieve externally. That's why I gave the little prelude before getting into this video, because as long as we're chasing external things to make us feel good, we're going to be on a never-ending chase, because unfortunately, when we actually receive those things or achieve those things, it gives us this temporary satisfaction, but then that's it, then we're on to the next thing and the next thing, and so the list just goes on and on. I remember for years and years and years, like back when I was younger, I had horrible acne and I had braces, and I just had this really bad self-image at that time. And I carried that image with me as I got older. So I still mentally saw myself as the girl with really bad acne, really bad teeth, all these other imperfections that made me feel really insecure and really inadequate. And I remember I would stand in front of the mirror and I always hated the version, the person I saw looking back at me. But I remember I would pray and just beg and plead and say, if I could just have clear skin, I would feel confident. If I could just have clear skin, I would feel better about myself. And then that became, if I could just have better teeth, then I'd be happy and in love with myself. Then that became, if I just had a six-pack, and if I had smaller hips, and if I had, smaller legs or more muscle or less this, and it never stopped. So I realized wow, I'm giving myself a lot of stress and anxiety, and I'm giving myself a really hard measure to live up to, because it's even when my skin did start to get a little bit better, I still didn't feel happy or confident. I still found flaws in other areas of my life, and I still noticed breakouts and saw them as the end of the world. So it was really just any of those external things don't cause or can't create internal happiness, I guess is the moral of that. So where the real healing comes, if you want to create confidence, if you want to feel an increased level of self-esteem and self-worth, it always comes back to the inner game and to the way you feel about yourself and the thoughts you think about yourself. So as long as you're focused on the negative thoughts, you're going to continue to see and feel more negative things about yourself. So that's why I preach about mindset all day, every day, because that is where the true solution comes from, is getting control over your mind and shifting the patterns that it has. So one of the very first questions that I'm going to invite you to ask yourself is where did the insecurities start? So for me, and actually let me just do both of them actually, and whose label / standard are you trying to live up to? Because most of us have been very influenced by the media, and so we're trying to live up to this standard of beauty that is pretty much impossible, because majority of it is photoshopped or edited, and so it's actually not even real anymore. We have this very distorted view of reality and what we should look like, right? And yet we're comparing and striving to look a certain way or feel a certain way or achieve enough in order to feel good about ourselves. And yet we're really stuck in a pretty much impossible standard of achievement or realistic way of looking or being. I don't know what I mean by that. So when you uncover where your insecurities start, it helps you to see that they're just a story. So, like, here's the thing, and you're gonna have your own perception of this. You might not agree, but for me, with my acne, I thought like that it made me the ugliest person in the world. And the reality is, though, is like, where did that insecurity start? Because it had to come from somewhere. As little children and little babies, we don't have judgment, we don't have labels, we don't classify things as like ugly and not enough or beautiful and, worthy, right? We don't have that. But we create these labels from society or from things we pick up from our parents. I was just talking to a friend the other day, and she has a lot of insecurities about her freckles because her mom used to always make comments about freckles being ugly or bad, or her color of her eyes because her mom made judgmental comments about that. And it's like, how shocking that we feel like we're not good enough for things that are just natural, right? And acne and pimples are actually something that's really natural, especially during puberty and everything. And especially in my instance, I also had horrible diet and a lot of different things that were causing that. And so it's like, it was pretty natural that I had that. And yet I created so many more insecurities and self-esteem problems because I was so focused on it as if it was horrible and like evil and wrong almost. And I had this attachment to like, this makes me a really unworthy human being, and like the only thing people are ever going to see about me is my skin. And I remember feeling like I didn't even deserve to have good friends. Like, I had some amazing friends growing up, but I remember constantly feeling like, why are they hanging out with me when my face looks like this? And that's a horrible, horrible thought to have. And I'm sure you can probably relate in your own way to something that made you feel really insecure and it made you question your worthiness. And what I really want you to see is that like these insecurities and these stories started somewhere. And when you can see that it's just a story, it's not actually fact, it's just a story, then it allows you to detach and actually create some separation so that you can go, wait a minute, yeah, this is a really bad story, actually. I don't want to keep telling myself that. And the standard I'm trying to live up to is a standard of perfection that doesn't even exist, right? Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy what we expect from ourselves or what we desire for ourselves, and how if we don't achieve that, we just feel like we're not enough ever. And so the best way to create confidence and actually just be satisfied with yourself and with your life is to learn to separate from those stories and those labels or pressures or standards, and just start to connect to the fact that right here in this very moment, no matter what you look like, no matter what you've achieved, no matter what mistakes you've made in your life, you are beautiful, you are more than enough, and you are worthy. Nothing determines that except for you, really. And so you can start to create a new story, start to shift those beliefs, and focus in on the fact that you are already more than enough, okay? So we want to shift your focus from like your insecurities and from like your imperfections, from the negative to the positive. So for instance, I talk about this in another video, but when I used to really despise the person I saw in the mirror and think a million negative thoughts every time I saw my reflection, what helped me was to, like, realize that I was doing it, question, where did this come from? Why am I feeling like I'm not enough? Oh, it's because I was like overwhelmed by, skincare product commercials and TV shows that like the cartoon character would have like one zit and it would be like the end of the world. They couldn't leave the house because they were so embarrassed. And I would be like, oh my gosh, my face is covered in them. I can't leave the house. Like, they can't leave the house with one. How can I leave the house looking like this? I remember friends who had like one pimple. It was the end of the world. And I remember just thinking like, wow, yeah, like I really should just be like hiding away, because obviously if it's that big of a deal to have one, like this should not be out in public. So all of those insecurities came from these different experiences. And yes, those experiences carry a lot of weight and they carried pain, and in some ways little mini traumas around how I associated with it, but it doesn't mean it's actually true, and it doesn't mean that those things were true reflections of my worthiness or my beauty or anything else, right? So when we can shift the focus from the negative, so as I said, staring in the mirror, a lot of negative things, if I could focus on just one single positive thing that I loved about myself, even if it was internal, the internal actually is what got me started, was like, I couldn't love the external when I looked in the mirror because I'd spent so many years hating it and like criticizing it and judging it. But I loved my heart, and I loved how much I cared about people on the planet. So instead of thinking a million negative thoughts and criticizing everything when I looked in the mirror, I would just focus on, you know what, I really love my heart and I love how much I care, and I forced myself to smile. This shifts the pattern, and over time helps you reprogram your subconscious. And your subconscious is basically the computer programming that's playing out on repeat in your head until you update it, until you reprogram it and create a new software. So for years, you might be playing out those same thoughts, those same judgments, those same patterns. And as we reprogram it to create a new story, a new thought, a new pattern, that's where the freedom comes in. That's where you're able to level up and really feel a new sense of confidence and a new inner level of worth. And I share my exact 3-step process on how to do that in my free mindset training, which is linked down below. So make sure you sign up, check that out if you're interested in knowing how to do this, because this is the work that will absolutely change your life. When you conquer your mind and you shift your beliefs and your subconscious programming, everything is possible, okay? And it doesn't have to take ages when you know exactly how to do it. And that's what I share on that training. So make sure you check that out. And when we're doing this, when we're creating these new beliefs, we're focusing on creating a new story and a new self-image. So as I mentioned personally, for years after my skin was better, and then even like when I got my braces off and like I look like I have straight teeth, I still was criticizing them. I still felt like they weren't perfect. I still didn't like my smile, and I still felt insecure about my skin, even though I had like way less breakouts. So I was carrying my previous self-image, because that was part of my subconscious programming. I was carrying that with me every day. So I still saw myself as the old version of me. And one of my favorite stories from a book called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz is all about self-image psychology. And it's how, you know, he performed thousands of plastic surgeries, and people would finish and leave with like the perfect face or perfect nose or whatever, but they still didn't feel good enough because they still mentally saw themselves the old way. And it's wild. Which just goes to show that no matter what we have externally, if we don't change our internal thoughts and beliefs, we're not going to actually see anything different. So again, even when my skin cleared up, even when my teeth were straight and the braces were gone, I still didn't feel good enough. I still was begging for more. I still was like praying and wishing things were different and still criticizing myself. And finally, that did trigger one day for me to go, wow, this must be more than just the external thing. And maybe the solution is actually internal, and it's learning to love myself with where I'm at. And I know that might sound really cheesy, and so some people might not resonate or might be like, I can't love myself where I'm at because I don't have this or I don't look this way. But again, where is that level of standard coming from? Where is that comparison coming from? Every single person, you know, all of the different countries I've traveled to around the world, they all have a different standard of beauty. There are countries where, you know, they love blonde hair and they think that their dark hair is gross or ugly or bad. There are places where they like honor and idolize lighter skin, and then I feel like in the Western world, we all want like more tan skin. We idolize a different kind of beauty. And so every single country has its own standard, which means that unfortunately you're not ever going to meet every standard of beauty. So why not just create your own fucking standard right here, right now? You have the power to do that. And it comes from really aligning to your truth and giving yourself the love that you have always deserved, and validating yourself even if you feel like you're not perfect or even if you think you have flaws. One of my favorite things was turning my negatives into positives. So like, instead of seeing my breakouts as like ugly and disgusting and no one's gonna want to talk to me, I just started telling myself that they were character spots. And I was like, that's just adding character. Like, it's just a temporary thing that's here and it doesn't really mean anything. It literally means whatever I give it. So if I take away its power by giving it less meaning, then I can feel better in this moment and I can start to feel more confident or feel more worthy. So nothing needs to change externally for you to be beautiful or to feel good enough, to feel confident. It all just comes from you realizing it right now and shifting those beliefs, aligning with that level of self-worth, self-love. And maybe self-love feels really far off right now, so you're starting with self-like or with acceptance of just being like, ooh, I'm just gonna accept that I have a breakout, or I'm gonna accept that I don't like my hair as much as I want to, or I'm gonna accept that I haven't achieved the things I want to achieve. But instead of beating myself up, judging and feeling like I'm not good enough or like I can't be confident and I don't deserve to be confident, I'm just going to accept that this is where I'm at right now and that's okay. And it's like this huge permission slip when we do that for ourselves. When we just accept and honor where we currently are, everything changes, okay? So if you found this video helpful so far, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe, turn on the notifications so you are always the first to be notified when I upload a new video. I also want to just recommend quickly, I have another video. It looks like this. It will be linked down below, all about the best confidence tools for 2021. Again, I dive into this so much further. It really comes down to the inner work, my friend. It always comes down to the inner work, those mindset shifts, learning how to see yourself in a new way. So please do not underestimate this. I cannot even express the number of clients I've had who are like, wanting this quick fix or wanting this external thing, and they're saying to me the same thing I used to say of like, I just want to have this thing and then I'll feel satisfied and then I'll feel confident, then I'll feel enough. I promise you, you never feel enough until you do the work up here and in here and connect back to your heart, connect back to your truth. So the more you can start to see yourself as a perfect divine being right now, the more you can accept your flaws and what you think isn't perfect, right? The more you can accept that, the better you're gonna feel and the faster you will start to feel confident and allow your light to really shine through. So I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much for being here, sending you so much love. You are the most incredible human being. You have so much value to give. It goes way beyond whatever insecurities you're struggling with right now or whatever labels and standards you're trying to live up to. Just remember, it all comes back down to you and the core being of who you are. So please never forget that, and I will see you on the next video.